This is Hidden Killers Week in Review.
A look back at the most prolific stories of the week.
This is the Hidden Killers podcast with Tony Brueski.
Featuring defense attorney, Hidden Killers daily contributor, and host of the Defense Diaries podcast, Bob Motta.
Jury selection beginning this week in the trial of Chad Daybell. Many counts against him, murder, and more. Bob Motta, defense attorney, joining us from the podcast Defense Diaries. Go download that. Press subscribe wherever you get your podcast right after this. Here we go. Buckle up for the Chad Daybell Express. I've been going through old jailhouse phone calls this morning and putting stuff together for social and just kind of getting myself refreshed on the case that never ends. This is going to be very, very interesting. What do you think we're going to be seeing as we enter into this, as opening statements are probably only, any time really, once they get the jury set up. So in the coming days.
I mean, they're talking, it could be, could take 2 weeks to pick a jury.
Yeah. Who knows?
And that tells you a lot.
Yeah.
That tells you, when you hear about a jury selection taking that amount of time, that tells you that that's how many people are following the case. It's a very good indicator, that this is a case where they're very concerned about being able to impanel, a fair and impartial jury based on pretrial media. So just from that perspective, it's going to be challenging. And then moving forward, they're talking that this is a 6 to 8. I've seen 6 to 8 to 10 week trial, which is a very long trial. And, we obviously look at Lori Vallow's trial as a bit of a barometer in terms of the state's game plan. They have different evidence against Chad than they did against Lori. Remember, Lori was basically alibied out for, the times that people were killed. So she wasn't, they had a different case in terms of the conspiracy to try to build that case against her. Whereas with Chad, it's different because he was there, and I think that we were talking about it. I mean, you and I both fully anticipate, Alex, Lori's now deceased brother, is firmly going to be entrenched under the wheels of all the buses. I fully anticipate that Alex Cox is going to be the guy that they're going to say he's the one who did it. Mm-hmm. He's the one who did it. I had nothing to do with it. Lori, the interesting thing will be, is Chad going to now flip on Lori? Because she obviously didn't do it with respect to Chad, but Chad's looking at the death penalty. And Chad is going to trial. And Chad, at this point, has been away from her for years. So he's out of her clutches. So has he been able to get himself untethered from the force that is Lori Vallow? Who knows? But if he does, his defense is going to be twofold. If I'm John Pryor, who's his defense attorney, I'm saying, look, okay, she was running it. She was the mastermind. This guy was completely tied around her finger. He didn't even have an independent thought. The whole thing was her. And Alex was their henchman. He did her bidding. Whatever she wanted done, Alex is the one who handled it. My client was just kind of along for the ride. Did he have knowledge? Not of the murders, but he certainly knew about, the scales of lightness and dark and these demons. And they had this concept, because if they're not going to go with the one carved out aspect of a mental defect defense that they have in Idaho, because they don't have the insanity defense as an option, where you can basically attack the mens rea portion of a statute, meaning that's the mental side of it, the intent side of it. And say, for instance, with a homicide statute, the state has to prove each and every element of every crime. And one of the elements of homicide is that a human being lost their lives unjustifiably at the hands of another, or some words to that effect, depending on the state. And so with that mental defect thing, which is what I thought that they would have done with Lori, but Lori wouldn't allow them, because you and I have both said, I know in the many times that we've talked about Vallow, we both thought, I think that she believed all that stuff.
Yeah.
I think that she didn't really believe those were her kids anymore, that they were just empty vessels and that there were these demons that were residing in those vessels, and that, in order to free her kids, she had to get the demons out of the vessels. And what that meant is that sadly that the kids had to die. And like, I believe in her warped mind that was something that was an actuality,
Sure.
And like, she wouldn't let him do it, and like, it doesn't appear that Chad's doing it either. So, because that would say, like, the Supreme Court of Idaho had given like an example to like how you can attack it, where like, oh, well, yeah, I killed that person, but I didn't think they were a person. I thought that they were a werewolf. Like I like, in my mind, they weren't a human being. They were a werewolf. And obviously you have to put on medical experts, psychologists, psychiatrists, forensic variety of those folks to say, we've evaluated them, and yeah, this person's suffering from X, Y, and Z according to the, the DSM, and like this is our diagnosis of that person. So in their mind, they weren't processing like a normal person does, and they did not think that was an actual human being. In that sense, you've successfully attacked the intent of killing a human being, because they didn't think they were killing a human being. You have to think that you're killing a person, not a werewolf.
Yeah.
So it's like, it sounds crazy when you're like, and imagine trying to sell that to a jury.
Well, exactly. I mean, if there was
So
ever a
hard to
case
do.
where I could actually buy it, was Lori, where it's like, I really think she does think these things.
Exactly.
Chad, not so much.
No, yeah.
How damning, though, it was the memo that they released last year, the one that basically walked up to the line of saying we did it without saying we did it, that basically said me and Alex were under Lori's spell, or however you want to, I'm just paraphrasing. And it basically said everything that happened, it happened, but it was because of her. It was because of her, but we're not going to quite admit to it, but we're going to say anything we did was her fault. I mean, that in itself seemed kind of insane when that was released, or was that kind of, you had to do that for an alibi defense? I mean, that just seemed insane.
Defense, dude. Yeah, that's it. That's what I was just saying.
That's not a defense.
He's flipping it. Well, he's going to say that she was the Svengoolie, that she was casting the spells, and that he had no, like, is a jury going to buy it? No way. Like,
it just doesn't. Is this just showing how unqualified John Pryor is to represent him? This is the defense.
I'm not picking on John Pryor, because you're dealt, you have to play the hand that you're dealt, bro.
Yeah, I mean, or is there just there's no defense period, and he's doing exactly what you just said. He's dealing the hand that he is dealing with, the hand that he was dealt, and there's not a whole lot you can do.
Dude, he was dealt a 7-2 offsuit. You know what I'm saying? Like, he got the worst-handed poker, and like, he's gonna do exactly whatever the hell he can think of, and it's gonna include flipping on Lori, putting her as the master, the puppet master, and he's going to be laying it at Alex. Alex was the trigger man. Alex is the one who did the deeds, and
well, what will be very interesting to me is if there is the flip on Lori, which it appears that they're probably going to go down that road unless something has changed, will be Lori's trial, which will be taking place after this. And if she does a whole different defense on this round and flips on him, or if she just continues to go down the road in her mind saying, oh no, he's possessed now too, but he wouldn't have ever done that, and just continues to believe the insane enigma world that she lives in.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, because Arizona does have the insanity defense, so and they do have the death penalty, so it's like she's dealing with a different beast out there. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. And I fully anticipate at that point Chad will be convicted, and could very well be staring at the death penalty. And, we'll see how that affects her, if at all.
If at all. Yeah, that's the question.
Want to listen ad-free? Want advanced access to all of our interviews before anyone else?
Become a True Crime Today Premium Plus subscriber on Apple Podcasts.
You get every episode commercial free,
so you can binge on true crime
until you can binge no more.
Search True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts now, or go to our podcast page and sign up now.
More of the Hidden Killers podcast next.